The Unitarian Church was so central to Sylvia Heckendorf's life that she bought her condo to live nearby. On a spring day in 1987, new lease and keys in hand, she walked toward her new home, only to come upon her beloved church engulfed in flame. She rallied, actively supporting the rebuilt church until her death some 30 years later. Sylvia was a familiar presence at church, but lived a very private life. She lived alone, far from family in Vancouver. As Reverend Diane said at Sylvia's memorial service, so much of Sylvia's life was a mystery. She would step forward when needed, then quietly recede into the background. And yet, in the last months of her life, she brought so many of us together. In 2015, Sylvia left a message on the church answering machine. She had to miss a meeting because I'm over at the Glen Hospital. I've been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Diane found her at the Glen, feeling alone and afraid. Don't worry, Diane promised. We're not going to leave you alone. You have a community that loves you. That's what we're here for. Diane put out a call for someone to bring Sylvia toiletries. I answered, which is how my friendship with Sylvia began. At the Glen, I waited for Sylvia to emerge from an 8-hour operation. That first day, she looked awful, savaged, like she'd been hit by a truck. She told me what she needed, and I gradually learned who she was and what to bring her. She adored the British royal family, doting especially on 2-year-old Prince George and newborn Princess Charlotte. As an American acquiring Canadian citizenship, I had been disconcerted to learn that Canada was a constitutional monarchy and that I'd be swearing allegiance to the Queen and all her heirs and successors. Now, I scoured multi-mags for obscure royalty magazines to please Sylvia. Sylvia worried most about her beloved female cat, obscurely named Ichabod for reasons known only to Sylvia. She'd rescued Ichabod from a litter born outside her building. Ichabod was now a large, shy, multicolored cat. I once transported Ichabod to and from boarding with a vet. But who would care for Ichabod if she could not? During one visit, Sylvia asked me, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "Because I like you." And I did. I sensed her vulnerability and shared her commitment to cats. Perhaps this was when or why she told me, "I hear voices talking about me," waiting for my reaction. Maybe you're hearing people passing by in the corridor outside the room. No, inside my head. I paused. Well, as long as they're not saying, "Kill, Sylvia, kill," it's probably okay. Long ago when she was young, she said her mother got very angry, insisting she must never again mention hearing voices. Sylvia had worked as a psychiatric nurse. Her obituary in the Montreal Gazette would feature her photo as a young nurse with white cap and an armful of red roses. But perhaps her connection with psychiatry was also a personal one, and perhaps the reason for her privacy. Sylvia returned from the hospital to church, hugging Diane with tears in her eyes, saying, "I thought I might never be able to come back." Sylvia and I talked almost every day on the phone, usually about our cats. We tried to solve the mystery of why and which of my 3 cats had suddenly taken to peeing on the pillows and pooping 2 inches outside the litter box. It was my male cat, Benjamin, protesting the new lightweight litter. At church one Sunday, Diane rushed to tell me that Sylvia had fallen. She was found unconscious on the floor when a neighbor came to clean the cat box. A call to 911 and Sylvia was rushed into surgery at Montreal General Hospital. I was shocked, responsible, worrying that I'd been remiss about calling her. Sylvia's Vancouver nephew arrived and asked Diane to invite everyone who had supported Sylvia to meet him at the intensive care unit. And so it was that Diane, myself, Mary Louise Engels, Sophie Baudouin-Dion, Patricia Phillip, who is here, I believe, and Fran Knott, who should be here. Hi, Fran. And is usually here, by the way. Gathered with Roy Heckendorf in the family room near where Sylvia lay on life support. We kept Roy company as he consulted with doctors and struggled with his difficult decision, withdraw life support or not. In the end, we all agreed that Sylvia wouldn't want to survive the fall, only to succumb to the cancer that was again wasting her body. The decision made, we moved into the bright space where Sylvia lay, gathering around her bed. Spontaneously, we began to sing the church songs she so loved, Amazing Grace, Gather the Spirit. And then, speaking to Sylvia from the foot of the bed, Fran said, Sylvia, I'll take Ichabod. We cheered. It was perfect. Sylvia could rest in peace. Ichabod acquired new life as Susie, and I was part of this community.